There is a bill that passed out of the Senate State Agencies Committee on Tuesday, okay? A bill that passed out of the Senate State Agencies Committee on Tuesday by Senator Kim Hammer to put an abortion monument on the Capitol grounds to commemorate the murder, the deaths of 250,000 Arkansan babies before they were born during this genocidal period known as Roe versus Wade. During this time from 73 to, when the Dobbs decision overturned Roe versus Wade. Last year, by the way, in June, which was supposed to be the month for the LGBT, and ended up being a month we're going to celebrate the protection of the unborn for as long as we possibly can. For as long as this country's around, we're going to continue to celebrate what happened. It'll be a year this June, so get ready. I mean, I don't know. I guess we should fire up barbecue pits. We should throw a party every year. Throw a party in June, celebrate the fact that the states were given the rights, that abortion is made illegal here in Arkansas, abortion is made illegal in these other because of Donald Trump's Supreme Court justice picks. And we should it at some point should be a national holiday. But the point is not lost here. We do need to remember what we did, what was allowed, and be confronted with it. Almost as if, and I know this may sound crass, but almost as if rubbing a dog's nose in their own vomit, because it's disgusting what was allowed to happen for 40 years in this country, and it was a genocide. Now, Senator Kim Hammer had this to say on Tuesday of this week, and in keeping with John Brummett's, they just can't quit taking the bait. Ivy League Democrat lawyer Senator Clark Tucker couldn't stand it and had to poke the bear. He had to ask, why do we need a monument for the unborn? That's just going to make women who made abortions or who had abortions uncomfortable. I don't know. Maybe death should make us uncomfortable. Listen to this.
Long and short of it is 307 creates the legislation that would allow for a monument to be placed on Capitol grounds in memory of those babies unborn during the Roe versus Wade era, be a recognition of those babies. That's the long and short of it, and I'll be glad to take any questions.
That's Senator Kim Hammer.
Is there any questions? All right, Senator Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator, I just have to,
I just have to. I just have to ask. This bill, by the way, passed out of the Senate committee with a voice vote. One dissenting vote was Democrat Senator Ivy League Clark Tucker.
I don't want to litigate abortion. That's not the purpose of the bill. But I do think we can all hopefully agree that if a person chooses to get an abortion, they may have different reasons, but by and large, it's a very intensely personal decision. And every abortion that took place in Arkansas during the time period identified in the bill, that was a choice that person made to have an abortion. Now, some women who made that decision may regret it, and for that reason or another reason may appreciate having a monument on the state capitol. I'm not saying it's universal, but I would have to believe that there are scores of women out there who felt like they had to make a decision either for their own health or for whatever reason it might be, and for there to be a public monument, which is a visual reminder, it would just be adding pain to their process. And so I guess I wanted to voice that concern and invite you to respond. This is unlike for example, we consistently have memorials for first responders or military. And in those cases, we all celebrate and memorialize the men and women who lost their lives in service to this country. This is a different situation than that.
Yes, it is a different situation because we didn't participate and make legal the mass murder of first responders, police officers, and firefighters. So it is a very different situation. No, this would be a monument, and this is the truth. This would be a monument recognizing a genocide. That's what this would be. It would be a monument recognizing a genocide. As a matter of fact, the bill, let's see if I can pull up the bill here for all of us. It's SB 307. I think I have it right here. Yeah, here it is. I'm going to throw this up on the screen for you guys, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll come back to that here in just a minute. This bill reads really good because just listen to this. As the United States Supreme Court explained in Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization, let's see here. In his lectures on law in 1790, James Wilson, who signed the Declaration of Independence and was a delegate to the Constitutional Convention of 1787, explained, with consistency, beautiful and undeviating human life from its commencement to its close is protected by the common law. In the contemplation of law, life begins when the infant is first able to stir in the womb. By the law, life is protected not only from actual destruction, but from every degree of violence, and in some cases from every degree of danger. Again, that's the works of James Wilson. And to be clear, the Supreme Court totally neutered a national discussion that was going on in the 1970s and took away our right to govern ourselves, creating out of thin air a right to murder your children. That is no longer the law of the land. But in doing so, what did we do in Arkansas? Well, we tried to pass laws that never could stand up to court challenges. We continued to pass laws trying to make it harder. I mean, we did make some progress. We obviously passed a trigger law that, when Roe was overturned, meant that our abortion laws went back to the way they were before Roe versus Wade. Are we just going to ignore what happened? Are we going to ignore the elephant in the room, which is what was allowed to happen? A great evil was allowed to happen in the state of Arkansas. Here in a minute, he'll say it, 250,000 children. That's we need to be confronted with that. Even all of us conservatives that know it's wrong. Democrats need to be confronted with it as well, and hopefully they'll see the light and realize what was done. But we need to be confronted with it as well. And we never need, you hear the monuments, never forget. Yes, never forget what was allowed to happen. Back to this clip.
So for that reason, I don't think it's appropriate for a memorial, because of all of the conflicting emotions that everyone who has had an abortion during the time period must have around that decision. So,
Sure. And
we don't want to make anyone feel bad about their abortion. Plenty of women do, by the way. Plenty of women who have abortions are very remorseful, especially if they go on to have children and actually allow them to be born.
I want to be respectful that there are women who have made decisions probably from all perspectives of the situation. Some found themselves in an unfortunate situation. I mean, we could run the gamut. But also at the same time, the one thing I would want to express is, and that's why we have purposely written the bill that we did, I want the monument to be tasteful, respectful, honoring of the babies that were not privileged to see life on earth, although I believe life begins at conception. And I would want it to be sensitive to the fact that if somebody walks by that monument, it respects the multitude of emotions that are represented in that monument. But at the same token, we do have monuments on the Capitol grounds that celebrate life, as in the Little Rock Nine, that recognize lives that were given in the line of duty, both military and as public servants. We have monuments for a wide range of things on the Capitol ground. I think it's important to our history that we have visual reminders of a painful chapter in our state's history, magnitude by the fact that, and it's without looking at it exactly, 250,000 plus babies that lost their lives to abortion. And I think that the number alone is significant enough that it deserves recognition, and we deserve to be reminded of it. I want a monument, and it is, safeguarded in here. I want a monument that is going to be tastefully done, and that if a woman does walk by it and does see it, that there's a degree of comfort and consolation that we have remembered a painful part of our history. History I hope we never repeat, but sometimes we need visual reminders so that we don't repeat history again.
That is exactly the truth. We need visual reminders. I mean, think of it as it's like the opposite of an Ebenezer in a way. Or it could be an actual Ebenezer, because the end of Roe was certainly a deliverance of sort. Now, we have a lot more work to do to stop abortion nationwide in this country. The work is not done. This is a great bill. This is a great use because of we don't ever need to repeat it, and we need to constantly mourn what was allowed to happen in this country, what was allowed to happen in this state.